Excuse me, it looks like we're live here on LinuxChatter on Twitch. Let me just make sure I'm really live on Twitch. Give me a second. Let me get some headphones on while I'm at it. And watch, I'm going to put these headphones on and it's going to blow everything up. I assume you can hear me at this point. So, it says I'm now streaming live. Let's see if I get to hear myself here. Come on now, unmute. See if I get to hear myself here. Oh, good. I can hear myself on Twitch. And then let's go check on on YouTube. Am I showing live? Yes, I'm showing live on YouTube. Web security with VPS. It says I'm now streaming live. Okay, cool. I get to hear myself here. Let's just set a couple of things up here at the beginning of the stream. If you're watching this later, just put up with me for a minute or two. I have to go mute myself. And then let's go check here. And I have to scroll this a little bit so I can see what's going on. There we go. Okay, and then I think I can see what I need to see. And then let me just go check one other thing over on the Twitch side. Let me just see if... Okay, now that's interesting. So if I go like this... I just need to do about a minute of setup here on the Twitch side. If anybody's here, actually, then say something in chat. Otherwise, I'll get going in just a minute. You can skip ahead a couple of minutes here, maybe, if you're watching on a replay. This is, by the way, the LinuxChatter channel. So just to explain, I just changed it from LinuxChat to LinuxChatter because I'm really stupid. I had this old website, techhub.live, that I was using for a while, and then I decided to change everything to linuxchat.live. And I got Linux Chat. Oh, hey, Espresso Roast is in here fishing. Right on, Espresso Roast. Welcome. Oh, let's see. Yeah, okay, there you go. Hey, welcome in, man. I appreciate it. We got a viewer. Yeah, you can sit here and fish to your heart's content, man. I turned the fishing on for everybody. How much... Now, does your fish accumulate from other... so just for anybody else watching, we're going to play the fishing game tonight, too. And I think Espresso Roast might... Oh, yeah, I know. No kidding, yeah. She will put her bot on it, definitely. Anyways, what I was saying is, let me go check on something real quick. Just a little bit of stream setup here, and then we'll get into the subject matter if anybody's going to be here. Let me see. I want to go over to Stream Elements because for some reason I'm not seeing Stream Elements as a bot in my stream. Yeah, I appreciate the lurk, man. So let's see. When I look at the community. Why doesn't it show me any people? It doesn't even show me Espresso Roast. That's weird. Lurk 1.5, right? Oh, you got the Lurk 0.5 in here, right on. Did I set that up? I must have set that up because it works. Oh, maybe it's not going to work, right? I'll have to set that up. All right, sorry, anybody that's actually watching. Let me just look at something here. I need to bring up my... Okay, that's up there. What is up over here is what I'm looking for, and then Stream Elements... And I'm going to try to sign out of Stream Elements real quick and sign back in because Linux Chat Live. I did change the. Yeah, let me just see if this works. If I sign out and then I log in with Twitch. Okay, and is it on? It's got the same icon, right? Yeah, it has the same icon. LinuxChatter. Oh, okay. It's just changed something there. So let's see. Let me just see if I have Stream Elements now. Now, where's the bot commands? Chat bot, chat commands, user management, modules, timers, spam filters. All right, well, I have link protection turned on. I got a few things turned on. Zalgo protection, one-man spam. Interesting. So I don't know why Stream Elements. So I guess bots, this is your time to get at it. I'll try to keep an eye on the chat. So anyways, let's jump into this. I don't know if I have any actual viewers. It looks like I got Espresso Roast. And on the YouTube side, I don't have any viewers except for myself. All right, that's fine. People watching on replay, I hope you enjoy this. I'm going to go ahead and do this here. I'm going to kind of skip through this. I had wished that I had more people. And also, just to say, for anybody watching that tried to get on the meetup.com Google Meet link, I don't know what happened there. I own that link. That's from a workspace that I own. But somehow somebody got into that link, apparently, and... already because it was saying I was logging in with the correct account and it was actually saying that I needed to wait to be admitted. So somebody already had like control of that meeting And so that meant that even if I got in, I wasn't going to be able to bounce people or mute people and stuff like that. So I don't think there was a lot of response. There was no real response on the meetup.com side, sadly. So hopefully this does better on Twitch and YouTube. All right, so I'm now, how far into my stream? 5 minutes in. Let's get started here for real. So welcome to LinuxChatter channel. I started saying I had LinuxChat.live and the Linux Chat channel, and then I had TechHub.live before that, and I never did change the login email for Twitch for the Linux Chat account. I just changed the username, right? But I still had the old, something at TechHub.live account. So this is like a lesson to everybody to always make sure you renew domains, even if you don't think you're gonna need that domain. You want to renew your domains because in this case it kind of bit me, because by the time I let it expire and went back to it, it had really gone out to the squatters, and somebody's squatting on it now. So anyways, we're going to talk about website and OS security. Basically, we're talking about this in context of deploying, in my case, a Laravel application. If you don't know what Laravel is a PHP framework. It's sort of like saying Next.js if you're in the JavaScript world, or because Next does some server-side stuff, but Laravel really does a lot of server-side stuff. It's really more like saying .NET. I'm not sure that there's exactly a parallel on the JavaScript side. I think there's a lot of frameworks that try to do a lot, but I'm not sure if any of them do all that Laravel does. But that might be an ignorant statement on my part. I might be missing some. What do I know about on the React side? There's Next. There's Express.js. Maybe that's more of a server setup. I'd have to look it up. Anyway, so let's take a look here. We're going to look at a few different layers here. I don't think we're going to get through this all in 1 hour, so this might be a multi-stage presentation. So we'll see how far we get tonight. Web application security, Apache server hardening, and then something called CIS Level 2 Ubuntu hardening, and then monitoring and incident response, which is my weakest area because I haven't really done it yet. So anyways, and just to explain, these slides they're gonna kind of scroll down and off the page a little bit on a few slides. These are not ChatGPT, but Claude Code generated slides based on my code base. So I basically said to Claude, tell me about all the neat security features that I built into my code base. And yeah, and I appreciate any comments. If I missed something, I don't have everything here. It's not comprehensive. So if you think I'm missing something, I probably have it. I just probably am not talking about it tonight. But anyways, the first thing that you go look at and understand is the OWASP top 10, and Laravel has a lot of protections against that. If you don't know what the OWASP top 10 is, let's take a look here. Let's see if I can do this here. OWASP. If I could just top 10. Okay, so if we go to the OWASP top 10, they have a new 2025 release candidate that was just announced. How interesting. Here's the OWASP top 10 of 2021. So, what are they saying? Sorry, they're making my demo look bad here because they're saying this site looks a little bit messy. What's going on here? Making up OWASP top 10 product. That's project information. Where's the actual top 10, guys? Hello. I don't get it. Let me just see if I can search on the site. I don't like this site. Top 10. Okay, OWASP top 10. There it is, right? Well, that's the page we were just on. So I don't get it. Let me just try one more search. Top 10, and then I'm going to give up. Because I kind of want to go through these here. Introduction to top 10, RC1. OWASP Kubernetes top 10. OWASP top 10 2017. I mean, let's look at the 2017 one, because it's going to be close. They have a lot of stuff on here. They're not here. 2017 top 10. Here we go. Okay, so injection. So here we go. So when you look at injection, we're going to talk about protections against SQL injection. We're going to look at broken authentication and the way that gets handled in Laravel. We're going to look at. We're not really going to look at sensitive data exposure. You use a vault. I'm not going to show you my vault. Let's look at what else is in here. Broken access control is interesting. Cross-site scripting is a big one, there's a lot of different. There's like stored XSS and different kinds of XSS. That's kind of interesting. It's an interesting attack to look at, and so Laravel has good protections against that. Using components with known vulnerabilities. Now, I tended to build most things myself, but I did use a couple of libraries with this Laravel project. Laravel, you depend on the idea that there's a lot of developers over time that have been working on this for a long time, and there's a big community testing and contributing. So I'd say Laravel is pretty well settled. I know people like to laugh at PHP, but it does power like 70% of the internet. So you can only laugh so far at something that even WordPress people hate. Like they really like to make fun of, but WordPress is, like, depending on who you believe, like 20 to 40% of the internet. So let me get back into OBS here real quick, just see if my screen even looks right. Now that I think about it, hang on a second here. Got away from OBS. Oh yeah, well, I guess we're not fishing anymore, are we? I gotta fish then. If I'm gonna fish, if Espresso Roast isn't gonna fish, let me see what's up with the fish. Okay. So anyways, then we're going to talk about Apache server hardening. Oh, I'm sorry. So we're going to talk about OWASP top 10. We're going to talk about some custom security things I did. Like, for example, I built a chatbot, and I have rate limiting in that chatbot. What did I get here? I got a Marlin worth 100 gold. Hey, nice. I scored on that one. This is a different account, right? Which account is this? Yeah, I'm actually fishing on the LinuxChatter account, which is brand new. So people on YouTube, you can't do this on YouTube, but if you come over to Twitch, at twitch.com/LinuxChatter, then you can fish over there with the exclamation point fish command, or for anybody on Twitch, they could fish with that. So yeah, we'll pay attention to that occasionally throughout the speech here, or throughout the talk. All right, so then custom security, rate limiting and IP blocking, Apache server hardening, we're going to look at some of that. This gets cut off here a little bit, but there's Ubuntu CIS hardening, and it's going to talk about monitoring down there, but I'm not going to go chasing after that lost content. Web application security. So there's called defense in depth, and we have a bunch of different layers here to look at. So there's the network layer, where there's a firewall. And we don't actually have we have DDoS, but we don't have IDS in here. Well, I guess we have a sort of IDS. We'll get to it later, but we don't have snort running, for example. So I'm thinking like we don't have a full IDS. But what I do have is, I do have it running on a different machine technically. I have a Wazoo agent, and so Wazoo does some IDS type stuff. And I could actually, I don't think there's a snort agent, is there? I think you have to run snort directly on the machine, which makes it a little bit unwieldy. But I think Wazoo does some IDS type of stuff. So then when you come to the OS, there's this CIS hardening. I only discovered this like recently, that you can get an Ubuntu Pro subscription for up to 5 machines for free, and it'll give you a token, and then you attach the token to your server once you, like, the very minute you boot up your server, attach the token and do your hardening. and even though I do it in an Ansible file, I recommend doing the hardening by hand, so that you can really know that it's done right from the start. Okay, so then the web server has some things going on. We have the mod security web application firewall running, which does a lot of the same things that Laravel does. So it gives us a double protection against a lot of web attacks. And then there's the Apache's our server that we're choosing. I could have chosen Nginx. Well, actually, Apache's is our proxy server, and then we're actually proxying to Octane on Laravel. So we're actually using something called Octane in Laravel to do the actual serving up the app. So Apache's just the front end, or the proxy, I guess you'd call it a reverse proxy. I don't know if it's I never quite understood how that word reverse proxy fits in. So anyways, I'm going to fish real quick here. Just taking a look. Gotta change the weather on the fishing. I changed it already once. Oh, is my fishing not working? Oh, am I on cooldown? Am I on cooldown? I can't believe I'm on cooldown. That's interesting. There's a 5-minute cooldown. All right, so let's take a look here. So then we have two-factor authentication. We have things in the application itself that give us defense, right? Laravel has these defenses, which we'll get into. There's a CSP has a content security policy. So every website has that, like whether you know it or not. Like if you're working with WordPress, I never actually looked at the CSP in WordPress, because to be honest, I really only became aware of these once I became a Laravel developer. The need to implement it, because WordPress, you don't think about it, but it's being done for you. And so somehow your website has limitations on what can be uploaded and what kind of content it can handle, and it's usually pretty loose in WordPress. So we tighten that up quite a bit in Laravel. And then two-factor authentication, of course, is required for all users. So then the database also has some protections. There's something called Eloquent. So like if you're used to, what's it called? SQL Alchemy. Alchemy is the word. I can't remember how to say it exactly. SQL Alchemy, is that right? They're called ORMs, Object Relational Models. So you're not doing explicit SQL because it's a real classic. Let me see if it's on here. SQL injections, right? So when we go look at an injection here real quick, do they give us an example here? Basically, they're showing here where an application uses if you look at this here, right about the middle of the screen, an application uses untrusted data in the construction of the following vulnerable SQL call. So basically, you could have form fields, for example, right? And so when your form fields are inputting data from the customer or from the end user, and then they're putting it into the database, this is where you have a chance for all kinds of nasty stuff to happen. And so if you just do it as SQL, then you can just do funny things with the SQL. You can use comments. I think this is what they're trying to show us right here, where they're saying you know that you can sort of infer what SQL the application is running and guess at it, and then try to put an extra comment on there. If you see where there's a single quote and then a double quote, and they do a plus, which I think I'm not sure exactly how that's working, but it does a request.getParameter ID. I assume that's being functional there and not treating the whole thing as a comment. And then it looks like it's yeah. So I think that's, well, I'm not sure exactly what that's doing, to be honest with you, but that gives you an idea of if you have a chance to modify your input and then the backend application is running SQL directly like this, then what's happening is you're giving it a chance to do, nefarious things like this, where you're putting in these comments and then trying to, I assume it's trying to get like the logged in customer ID by request get parameter ID, and then match that up with the customer ID, so that maybe it's trying to make an admin user attack. That's my guess, is that it's trying to get the logged in user, and the logged in user executing this command would be something with database access, and then you're trying to get all the information from accounts where the customer ID is that admin. I don't know if that's what's going on. Anyways, so they kind of give a couple examples here. Back to the slides, but you get the idea. That's the reason that they have object relational models and Eloquent, and we'll look at some examples. And then there's monitoring logs, like logs and audits, and something called Sentry. All right, let's take a look here. So here's the injection right here. This is exactly what I was talking about on the last slide. So basically, you've got Eloquent. It says Eloquent automatically parameterizes. So if you look at how this is constructed, your call is being done completely with parameters to a function, right? To a function call or a method call. You're never explicitly writing any SQL. Whereas they show the unsafe down here is you can actually do a DB select. You can execute SQL directly, and you don't want to do that because that's where you get to do things. The other classic attack is where you would say where email equals email, and then you would add something in here to make the word or effective, and then you would say or 1 equals 1. And so you would be satisfying the requirement because you'd be saying where email equals email. Well, maybe it doesn't equal email, but what you tack onto it says or 1 equals 1, and that gets satisfied. Then you get all the users, or you get all the user data. So that's why that opens up unsafe things for you when you do this. They say that you could do these raw queries, but we don't actually use them anywhere in my application. I mean, you could parameterize things like that, and it does make it safer because these parameters probably get stripped of any kind of dangerous characters, but I'm not sure about that last part. All right, so what is it? It says our application is 100% Eloquent Query Builder usage. So yeah, this is a query builder up here. We're doing stuff like this only. All right, so then next is cross-site scripting prevention. So this is like you've probably seen this in JavaScript or in the React 2 or different JavaScript stuff. Where you're putting input into these double curly braces, and this is the way to do it right. Is that it's going to get escaped? I don't know. if it applies HTML special chars to it. I think that's what it does. I think that's what it's applying when you do that. I don't remember. I've looked into it before. But yeah, you would almost never do this, except I do this in one case, and then we have to use HTML Purifier because I have a rich text editor. So this is on the back end. So you have to be logged into the app as an admin or as a user that gets to use the back end in the first place, and then I give the users the ability to edit in a rich text editor. So that has to be escaped, or that has to be treated specially, and that's treated with HTML Purifier. Yeah, that's the one thing that I do that goes walking on the edge a little bit, but it's still safe. Okay, so you're using, again, content security policy headers, and then this non-space script execution in production. We'll talk about that in a minute, I think, here. Here's cross-site CSRFs. So WordPress, excuse me, Laravel has an automatic CSRF token generator. You just put in @CSRF. I have to get some water here. You're going to have to excuse me for a minute. Let me go off camera here for a minute. It's my video capture device. All right, I'll be right back. Give me a minute. Where's my water? Oh, it's right here next to me. Hello. I'll be right back. I guess I should stay off camera so you can see everything that's on the screen, huh? Because I'm covering up part of what's on the screen, aren't I? Let me see. Am I? Not really. No, I'm kind of off the screen. I can move myself down. Oops. Not that. Hello. No, I don't want... I don't want to move that. Hello. There. Move that back. Now let's show this again. And now let's grab this and move it down a little more. There we go. Okay. So anyway, so we use these automatic CSRF token validation on all state changing requests. And then, oh, excuse me. Yeah, it's nice. You do this at CSRF, and it's really nice because Laravel does built-in validation as well. You don't have to explicitly code all the validation. It figures out that if you're doing a text field, there's certain certain things you're putting in. Excuse me, sorry. It figures out for different fields that what the validation rules should be pretty well. All right, so let's take a look here. There's session configuration information. So we only allow a 4-hour timeout. So I'm sure some of the back-end users are going to get mad about this because they'll probably walk away and go for lunch or something and then come back 4 hours later and then they're logged out and they're mad. Because they don't like to use, users don't like to use two-factor authentication for some reason. It's so simple, and it's just that there's just some users that just haven't really figured out password managers yet, and haven't so to them they use really insecure passwords. It's dangerous, and we'll get to that in a minute here. I think that's a slide coming up pretty soon. You're pretty limited on what kind of passwords you can use on this site. Okay, so basically, the one thing that might look a little funny here is the same site lacks, but that's actually a secure setting. It would be same site other or none. I forget what the non-secure setting is there, but there's a strict setting here, and then this lax setting, which are both in the secure realm, and then there's the other one, which is not secure. And so anyway, session regeneration on default, on login, so that's a default that Laravel does. And the sessions are tracked in a database, so that gives us an audit trail of people who've been in the system. And then, automatic cleanup. So it says all authenticated users must enable two-factor authentication. Again, they're not really all that happy about it, but tough. Excuse me. You can use Google Authenticator or any other, TOTP, TOTP, however you say it, compatible authenticator. You get recovery codes, and it's rate limited on the login. So I forget how long you get banned for. If I have to unban you or, anyways. So we have some password requirements, and it's really pretty strict. And again, people aren't going to like this because you can't even do I have it that you can't even do years, like in between 1900 and 2030. So people can't do their birth years, which people like to do. There's no dictionary words allowed. There's no, what is it here? No keyboard patterns and no, well, we actually calculate entropy too, so it has to be a good password. And we even look and see if your password's just stupid, like if it's on the have I been pwned, excuse me. So, list. So here's like some examples of what would get rejected, right? These, like this might be, you know, a password somebody might think, admin 2024 exclamation point. I've actually seen somebody use a password about that complex on a vendor's, I don't want to say any details here, but it was on a system that mattered. It was some data that mattered, and that was the password they were using to get some admin access. It wasn't that, but it was something not too far off of that. It ended in 2024 exclamation point. And I just looked at that and just shook my head, and I just didn't say anything at that moment, but I wanted to yell at the person for using a bad password and endangering their other. It wasn't a customer, it wasn't a vendor exactly. It's hard to explain, but anyways, long story short, this is what a password would look like in this system. So, you know, if you have a password manager, you don't care if your password looks like that. So use a password manager. Okay, role-based access control. So we have different users. We have a user editor. There's also a subscriber role. It didn't make it in here for some reason. But so like a basic, well, maybe it is a user. I thought I had a subscriber too, but maybe not. Maybe I'm thinking of WordPress days. Anyways, there's editors, managers, and admins. So we have like escalating privileges here. You can only create and edit content and manage forms as an editor. You can't actually delete anything, and you can't manage the help pages, which is maybe good and maybe bad. Maybe needs to be adjusted. I mean, a lot of this is just like based on your business process too. But you want to start out from locking everything down. You want to lock everything down and then go from there. All right, so editor, editor plus delete content, and then the admin, of course, gets the manager role plus user management and system settings, and then of course, you know, the god figure is the system admin of the VPS itself. And I haven't really explained this, and I should have made this really clear up front. You know, what's interesting about a VPS? So let me talk about VPSs here for a minute. And what's interesting about a VPS is that they're really neat, but they make you very responsible for all the security. And so it's not always the best solution if you don't know what you're doing. If you know what you're doing, you could probably still be dangerous and not know everything. So you really have to be careful about deploying VPSs. But yeah, the VPS, you know, this is like, I'm responsible for everything from, you know, the OS, you know, all the way up to the web server and the application itself. So it's kind of interesting for me. Like in a corporate environment, you wouldn't really have this experience, I don't think. What's going on here? I think everything's cool. Yeah, in a corporate environment, you wouldn't have this experience. You would be, you know, you'd be like you'd be the dev, or you'd be the DevOps guy, or you'd be, you know, in testing or something like that. But I kind of have to do everything. So it's been a good experience for me to learn all the different facets of this over the last 6 months or something like that. It's really the first MVC application that I've done properly and correctly. All right, let's take a look here. Okay, so we got some rate limiting here. I'm not going to get into this too deeply, but there's a bunch of different kinds of rate limiting. I have a chatbot. I'm still working on the chatbot, so I don't have that fully fleshed out and working yet. I kind of had the RAG part of it working for a while, but then I broke it working on some other stuff. But basically, it depends on whether, if you're doing a chatbot type of thing, it depends on whether you're calling out like to your own server. If you have an in-house server for running Olama with a model that's good enough to go, or if you need like GPT-5 and you need to pay OpenAI for the latest thing, or you know, if you're using a model on the cloud that's cheaper, you know, there's like a sweet spot where you want to run your own server versus you know, paying OpenAI or paying Claude for their model access. So I'm actually working on my own chatbot server so I can sell that to customers at a cheaper rate than what they would probably pay with Claude or OpenAI, and I can make some bucks in the process. But that's off in the future a little bit. Let's take a look at global rate limiting. So yeah, 120 requests per minute. on the app itself. The API, there's no API. There's like one route that says API, so it gets confused thinking there's an API, but there's not really a proper API on this setup. And then the app service or the Fortify service provider, that's the keeping track of things by email and IP. Fortify is a Laravel thing. And then what form submissions? I don't quite have it down there, but there's rate limiting on the form submissions, so you can't quite see it, but there is. How am I doing here? I'm 36 minutes in, and I'm only a quarter of my way through my slides. This is going to be a two-parter. I might only go for about another maybe 15, 20 minutes here. Let's see how many slides we can get through, and then I'm going to wrap it up and then do a part 2 and part 3, I think. All right, let's get through web and OS security here. So I have this chatbot security service. It does automatic temporary bans for violations of the chatbot rules. You have to be careful because I have to do a look for this. There must be a what's the word? Not ontology, but a word list. Excuse me. There must be a standard banned word list that I could use because like when you try to roll your own, there's always a rule in security. Like you never try to roll your own anything basically. So when I find myself trying to make my own, like when I try to guess what words I don't want people using on the chatbot, that's not going to go very far. I don't have the same imagination that people do just randomly hitting my chatbot. So, like you usually want to depend on something. So anyways, I want to look at banning based on word lists that are a little more standardized, but yeah, I need to get there. But yeah, the chatbot's not functional yet anyway, so it's not a problem. Okay, chatbot security, content validation. There's some of the stuff, block keywords, like, okay, so is somebody going to really use the word exploit? I don't know. Maybe, I guess. Now chatbot, prompt engineering, prompt attacks is a whole different thing. I could tell you a funny story, but I'm not going to. So it'll take too long right now. So anyways, I'm trying to roll my own there a little bit. That's not the right way to do it. There must be a standard way of going out and doing chatbot security that I need to look into. Okay, and then we have this thing here where I have budget protection, I have maximum daily API calls, and I have rate limiting per user and stuff like that. And then we actually we have a complete audit trail. We keep track of every user's IP, their user agent, what message they're sending, and what the tokens are, cost, etc. Okay, so content security policy. So this gets interesting. Yeah, so this is like you can always allow things from yourself, of course, but it's when you start getting into, let me see if I have it here. No flash job outputs. We have some things that are blocking. We have like built-in security protections here. This like clickjacking protection, blocking Flash in Java. I didn't even know if that's still a thing. I guess that probably is still a thing. I don't know. It hasn't been a thing in my life for a long time, but so anyway, so there's different ways of protecting things here. Where I thought I had it in here. Random nonce generated per request. So we are doing that. We are using Livewire. Excuse me. And anytime you're using Livewire or React or something like that, you are generating JavaScript on the fly and injecting it. So if I understand that right, you have to deal with the fact that you're doing that, and then you do these nonces. A nonce is a number once. If you don't know what a nonce is, it's like a whole study unto itself. But needless to say, it's just a temporary key that gets generated per request. So no nonce is going to be the same twice. Otherwise, it'd be called a twonce. But anyways, or twice. But yeah. And then, only if the script has the matching nonce, it'll execute. Otherwise, if a script doesn't have a proper nonce, it prevents inline script injection. So then there's whitelisted. Some of the resources that we've whitelisted here are like Google Fonts. Although I need to actually unwhitelist that because I now self-host my fonts. So I don't actually load fonts from Google anymore. And then Google Analytics, though, I need to actually do some more work developing the I have the cookie blocker set. It's turned off at the moment, but I have the cookie blocker interface set up for when you log in or for when you first hit the site, but I need to actually implement that. So we allow YouTube and Vimeo embeds. I may take away Vimeo. Vimeo was for one specific customer for a site that I was building. That's probably going to go away for general purposes. Cloudflare we do allow for the chatbot. There's Turnstile is part of their tunneling, I believe. I think that's what it is. Tiny MCE, that is for the rich content editor, rich text editor. And then CSP violation reporting, there's a URL for that, which I'm not going to show you because it's off the page. So here we go. So let's see here. So we take a look. So then input gets validated. Like every kind of input in the system. Like I had an application I built that had trains in it, right? So the validation would make sure that the train has a name, and it has like different attributes that you would expect with a train attached to it. So this list would be longer, and it would have different requirements here. Laravel's kind of neat in that you can string these requirements together with. I'm sure this isn't unique to Laravel, but you can string these requirements together, and you can even say in as far as the role. So HTML purifier also helps on the rich text content I was talking about. The only people that get to edit the rich text content are the employees, the backend users, but I suppose you can't always trust them to not do something either malicious or stupid. So, although I'm sure that'll never happen to any of my clients, but yeah. Eloquent or automatic escaping, that we talked about that before. File upload validation, we actually do a pretty good amount of actually looking into the file, trying to figure out that if it's really the kind of file that it claims to be. And then mass assignment protection, which I'm not sure what that means, honestly. All right, well that's gotten through. That's 45 minutes, and that's part one. Maybe I'll do the rest of this in a couple of parts over a couple more sessions. I know this is kind of a short stream for Twitch. What do I have? Like I don't have any viewers on Twitch because this is a brand new channel. Just so people know, I think I explained this at the beginning, but I had a Linux chat channel, and I had some people on that that would show up to streams. Well, I only streamed once, but I had people show up at the stream. But anyways, and I had some followers, but then I locked myself out of that account because I didn't keep an old domain around that I should have kept around. I didn't think I was using it anymore, but I was using it for that Twitch channel. Even though I had changed the name, I hadn't changed the login email. So anyways, that domain got bought by a squatter, and now I can't touch it anymore. So let's fish one more time here. Can we fish? Let's see what's going on here. Let me see here. Let's make this bigger. What do I get? A barracuda? I think that's good, actually, isn't it? Oh, no, that's not that good. Okay. Am I here on... am I on a second account somewhere that I could... here, I'm LinuxChatter here. Where am I? Hang on just a second here. Let's do this here. Twitch. LinuxChatter. I think I'm logged in as Truck and Train here. Nope, I am, yep. Alright, there we go. Let's do this. Fish. Oh, let's do one more fish. Alright, back to my boring slides. Oh, I got a watch. That's not worth too much, but it's 51 gold. Alright, well, that's a fun way to wrap up the night here. Yeah, I'm tired. I'm going to... And I should admit, the one thing is I don't actually have this website deployed yet. I've got it on a server, and it's giving me a 503, and I'm trying to figure it out right now. So hopefully by next week I'll come back maybe and stream again. Maybe I'll do it again on Friday night and at the same time at 7 p.m. Mountain. So plan for that. And, yeah, we'll see what happens. All right, everybody, have a great weekend. Have a great week.